Madam Speaker, that House has raised that threshold. In fact, I cannot recall any other time, save for the time that we needed to chase a very bad man in this country, Madam Speaker, and they successfully did it. On any other occasion, even on moments where they could actually have self-benefited, they couldn't raise those numbers. I recall the amendment, for example, by the former Member of Parliament.
What's your point of order, Senator Kyo?
Madam Speaker, I have heard Senator for Kericho, the majority leader, saying that the only time that the National Assembly raised a quorum of 2/3 is when they needed to chase a very bad man. I don't know, chase him out of where to where and who this bad man is. Madam Speaker, can you clarify that?
Senator
Majority Leader, can you substantiate
Madam
your
Speaker,
allegations?
I've just come back from Kitui County, his home county, this morning. I was in Kitui East.
Order, Senator Kyo. Now, can you listen to the substantiation?
A place called, I think, Nzesu or something like that. Zombe, thank you for reminding me. And when I asked the people whether we made the right decision, they unilaterally told me that it was the right decision to kick out Rigathi Gachagua out of the position of Deputy President because his conduct was unbecoming. That was in Kitui where Senator Wambua comes from, not any other part of the country. So if Senator Wambua needed to know who that bad man was, I have told him. So back...
Proceed, Senator ML.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I don't know what Senator Wambua wants to say. If he wants to do a public participation on whether that decision was right, he should go back to the same people that I asked this morning.
Senator Kinyua, what is your point of order?
Speaker, ni kinaya kwa kiongozi wa wengi kusema ya kwamba bunge la kitaifa kuhusu mjadala anayoleta hapa, bunge la kitaifa halisikizi, hawasikizi chochote na ni watu ambao si wazuri wasikizi seneti hii. Alafu hatimaye anatuambia wao ndio walifukuza mtu mbaya. Kwa hivyo bwana Speaker, nasema ni kinaya.
Senator Kinyua, is it a point of order or are you just making a statement? What is your issue?
Kweli kabisa bwana Speaker. Hakuna hoja ya nidhamu kwa yale maneno ambayo amesema Speaker. Nafikiri amechangia tu mjadala.
Senator ML, proceed with the debate, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for protecting me from the frivolous points of orders from my colleagues who don't want me to engage in this debate, Madam Speaker. But I'll tread with caution now so that I don't get interrupted while executing a very important mandate. I appreciate that Senator Okongo Omogeni, Senator Kisang have taken to the floor this early to convince the House, and I've listened to them. I listened to Senator Omogeni, and even when I was having tea while Senator Kisang was speaking, the reason I had tea, Senator Wambua, is that I was not served any ndengu in Kitui. Therefore, I arrived in the House very hungry. But I still listened. I still listened to Senator Omogeni moving the amendment. Madam Speaker,
point of is it a point of clarification? Senator ML, do you want to be informed?
Why is Senator Wambua restless? Could it be because the people of Kitui welcomed me so well this morning?
Senator ML, do you want to sit down? Okay, Senator Wambua, quickly.
You know, Madam Speaker, I would have wanted to let the majority leader to just get away with this. But for a second time, he has said he was in Kitui. Madam Speaker, the tradition in this House, and he is the originator of that tradition, we don't go to senators' counties without, one, informing them, and secondly, them accompanying us. Madam Speaker, is he breaking a tradition that he himself has set? If he had gone with me, definitely, he would have been served some dengue. But you went now, I don't know who you went with, what he was even doing in Kitui without my presence, Madam Speaker. Can you tell us why he sneaked into Kitui, Madam Speaker?
Senator Wambua, the Speaker is constrained to rule on customs that are not in the standing order. But ML has had, and I hope behind the tent, ML will do what is necessary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for protecting me once again this afternoon, Madam Speaker. But I had a very good time in Kitui. That's all I wish to say at this point. Therefore, Madam Speaker, this amendment, the amendment that is being canvassed by our colleagues, I'll speak to it at the end of my conversation, but I first want to focus on the importance of this exercise that we are doing. It should never be lost on us, Madam Speaker, that it is without debate in our country that devolution is the greatest gift the people of Kenya ever bequeathed themselves after independence. And in the same constitution, the 2010 constitution, Madam Speaker, Senate was granted the powers to protect and ensure that we defend counties and their interests. That's a correct wording as per the constitution. So every business that we transact in this house, Madam Speaker, should always be anchored on that founding philosophy of the House of the Senators per Article 96, to appreciate and to know, Madam Speaker, that everything that we do fosters devolution and ensures that it succeeds. Madam Speaker, it is not possible. A second thing that I'd wish senators to note, and perhaps to the pleasing of Senator Osotsi, Kisang, Omogeni, my colleagues, it is not possible for devolution as a whole to succeed in certain corners of a country while failing in others. And this has nothing to do with the people that you vote as a county governor. It's about how strong we entrench devolution. It's about the amount of resources that we send to our counties, Madam Speaker, and it is foolhardy to imagine that it is possible for one county to thrive while the rest is actually faltering. Many of the services that are provided by our counties, for example, Madam Speaker, are actually so basic that on many occasions they are shared across county. Think about health, for example. Many times, Senator Omogeni knows this. When I go to Kapkatet Hospital in Bureti sub-county in my county, nearly half the people that I meet are actually from Nyamira County. Or if not 40%, then there's another 30 from Bomet County and another 30 from Kericho County, Madam Speaker. Therefore, it is not possible to believe that when you disadvantage other counties, that your own county will thrive, Madam Speaker. We should always try to seek and ensure that we make all our 47 devolved units successful, Madam Speaker, so that it becomes even a case study for the other to challenge one another and to know what exactly is happening and what is it that one county is doing better than the other. I have my own mini devolution conference in my county tomorrow, for example, Madam Speaker, where we are taking stock of 12 years of devolution and seeing what it is that has worked and where we have gotten it wrong, Madam Speaker, as a county, with a view to making things better in the next 12. That is part of our responsibility and duty that we do as counties or leaders from those counties, Madam Speaker, to ensure that we succeed in granting hope to the citizens, ensuring that given an opportunity, another chance, that they will still make the decision that they made on the, in August of 2010 to ensure that we decentralize power in this country. That should always be at the top of our mind, colleagues, that we ask ourselves, should Kenyans be granted an opportunity to vote for the 2010 Constitution as is? What is it that will make it back to the Constitution? And what is it that they will definitely say, remove this one, this was a wrong decision? Should they be presented with a buffet of articles and, parts of the Constitution and the new things that came with devolution? Therefore, Madam Speaker, we keep up with the tradition of setting a baseline. And this, Senator Omogeni and colleagues that were here last term will recall that this is a tradition that we brought to the third formula. It was not there in the first, it was not there in the second. At the first and the second formula, we had absolutely no baseline. We only divided the resources from zero, moving all the way to the funds that were being devolved. And we ensured, Madam Speaker, that the division and the weights were applied equally on the full amount of resource that is being devolved. However, at the third generation formula, this thinking of having a baseline arose. And it was quite ingenious of us, because you recall that there are instances where we have actually either stagnated or moved back in terms of the resources that we are devolving to our counties. And it is this proposal, ensuring that you have it in the formula, that at the very minimum, should anything happen, it is not possible to devolve less than 387 billion to the counties, plus all these other billions that are over and above it. I am a firm supporter of the baseline allocation ratio, Madam Speaker, because it ensures that what counties had already secured and the basis upon which they had done their budgets for the previous fiscal year, like now, we are doing this and this is the month of June. Counties are also working on their budgets. CECs are just about to read the budgets before the county assemblies. County assemblies are actually finalizing on all the proposals and the plans. And the question at the back of their mind is what is likely to come out of this discussion and mediation exercise between the Senate and the National Assembly, Madam Speaker. To guide them, at least, at the very least, they are certain that given the formula that the Senate is discussing and the use of this baseline ratio, Madam Speaker, they know an amount, there's a particular amount below which they cannot get. And therefore, I am a firm believer in ensuring that that which we had already agreed upon, we should not move below it. And even those of us, or those that will be in this house, Madam Speaker, when Senate considers the 5th and the 6th and the 7th generation formula, I hope they keep with this tradition, Madam Speaker. When they read the notes and the Hansard of the thoughts that went into the deliberation of the 2nd, the 3rd, or the 4th formula, Madam Speaker, they'll appreciate the wisdom of colleagues that came ahead of them and ensure that we always lock that which had already been agreed. Therefore, on the committee's decision to keep up with the tradition that was set in this house in the 3rd generation formula of ensuring that we have the baseline allocation ratio as part and parcel of our formula, Madam Speaker, I applaud the committee. I move to the second thing, Madam Speaker, the population index. And we are using the 2019 population survey. I think I had somebody, I don't know if it was Senator Sifuna or who, yesterday make a comment that what is going to happen to parts of that particular exercise that has been challenged in our courts of law, Madam Speaker. I guess that is for others to determine and other competent institutions. But we know for a fact, Madam Speaker, that that affected a very small part of the country. Not to say that the citizens that live in that corner of the country are less important, but I appreciate that they continue to weight population index at 45%. It's a fairly huge figure, but we must appreciate that at the end of it all, when all is said and done, Madam Speaker, these services are being sent out to people. Therefore, any county that is densely populated, such as a county that I come from, the county of Senator Moses Kajwang, where we just come from after Madaraka Day, Madam Speaker, with all the energy that they have, and all these colleagues that come from densely populated counties, Madam Speaker, are not disadvantaged, because we must appreciate it. All these so-called devolved services, Madam Speaker, are actually a factor of human beings. If you have more people in your county, then you need a higher percentage of resources, Madam Speaker, to ensure that you deliver drugs in hospitals, you're able to pay health workers, you're able, Madam Speaker, to employ agricultural extension officers. Therefore, I am a firm believer in the weight of population being still maintained as the highest. Actually, if you study, it has been granted the highest weight at 45%, Madam Speaker. I know there are connotations here and there, because at the heart of the debate last time when we did the 3rd generation formula, Madam Speaker, there was a conversation about counties that are least populated. And in fact, people, including leaders in this house at that particular time, made certain remarks that were considered offensive to counties with a smaller population. But I still insist, Madam Speaker, that in the same way that our colleagues from smaller sized counties are asking us to bear with them, they should also bear with us with regards to the weight allocated, Madam Speaker, to population as a factor of the formula. It's extremely important because services are actually a factor of the number of human beings that live in a particular county. Number 3, Madam Speaker, is poverty index. This is where I disagree with our committee. And I said it when we had our amendment here, that part of the reason we want our counties to succeed is that we hope that they will learn from the national government, copy the things that have succeeded in the national government, and also learn from the mistakes of the last 60 years with regards to how we have managed the economy and this country, and all the 5 administrations that have run this particular country, Madam Speaker. Poverty index is important because it addresses the issue of marginalization and counties that have been left behind. But let's face it, 15 years into the devolution cycle, we should begin to motivate counties actually to be inculcators or hubs of growth, Madam Speaker, where counties that we notice good fiscal effort that eventually translates to growth, Madam Speaker, there should be a percentage of it going to reward. Actually, when we had our breakfast meeting with CRA last time, Senator Moses Kajwang, if you recall, there was a big debate that you are rewarding actually bad habits. And they argued and said it is through disenfranchisement and decisions that have been made over the last 50 years. And we said, okay, that's fine. If you want to give the weight of poverty index at 18%, at least shave 2 or 3% to motivate counties that are doing better, so that they earn from a kitty, and knowing that if your fiscal prudence is worth being emulated by other counties, Madam Speaker, you should be rewarded. Fiscal discipline, Madam Speaker, is the number one thing, the number one threat actually of our county governments and the success of devolution. So long as a county government continues to spend more than half of their resources in paying salaries, Madam Speaker, they will continue to score high on the poverty index. Then you want us to weight them and grant them this amount of resources, Madam Speaker? I disagree with the committee. And I had hoped that Senator Omogeni and our colleagues that are moving us to make an amendment, that as you urge us to consider that at least you will factor the decisions and the thoughts that had gone yesterday during the Kamkunji, where colleagues were saying, at least let us find a way of rewarding good governance practice in this formula. The same way CRA had proposed to us in the 3rd generation formula. Fiscal effort was being rewarded. Counties that get good certification out of audit reports, Madam Speaker, were being rewarded because you are actually encouraging counties to grow. Counties that meet their targets on on-source revenue, Madam Speaker. Counties that budget and maintain a balanced budget. Counties that observe, Madam Speaker, their pending bills and ensure that they are within the reach and they are manageable to levels that are prudent, Madam Speaker, are the counties that in the next 5 to 10 years you will begin to see growth. The county gross domestic product of those counties will begin to edge over others. It will be possible for the people of Siaya to see the difference with the people of Homa Bay, for the people of Bomet to see the difference with the people of Kericho, based on the decision they have made the last 20 years or so, Madam Speaker. If we don't motivate our counties and set the criteria upon which, Madam Speaker, we reward county governments that perform better, then we are being unfair to the country, Madam Speaker. That is a mistake that was made. We are actually in a World Bank program. Many times we come to this house, Madam Speaker, Senator Omogeni is pleading to inform me. I do not mind, Madam Speaker.
Senator, well, you need to speak, to ask for the opportunity, and then you are granted, isn't it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to inform my majority leader. The point is making about rewarding counties that experience fiscal responsibility, that in India, 2.5% is reserved for that effort. So I just wanted him to note that there is a jurisdiction called India that gives a lot of regard to fiscal responsibility. They actually call it fiscal responsibility and the tax effort, yes, meaning on source revenue. So I fully agree with you.
Very very good information which you need to use, Senator Omogeni, because you are the owner of this amended motion. Shave this poverty index from the proposed, what is it? What is the percentage? I'm trying to, 12%. Let us have it at 9 or 10. CRA had proposed 3% to us. We didn't agree with them last time, but I believe, colleagues, that we must reward good behavior in our counties. I want to plead with each one of you that let us find a percentage, and we could even borrow from the guidance of CRA from the third generation formula of ensuring that our counties and county governments that manage their resources better are encouraged. Because I was speaking to the point, Madam Speaker, that we are in a World Bank and all these IMF programs, they are telling us, you know, fiscal consolidation, they are telling us reduce corruption, that's why they want us to pass conflict of interest bill. They are saying consolidate this or the other. But at the heart of that conversation, the most important thing that they keep on informing us, Madam Speaker, is that keep your eyes on growth. If growth becomes your primary target, it answers all these challenges. People begin to complain less about being pressed by the tax burden. If you are able to show demonstrable growth, Madam Speaker, then people appreciate and they know that which you are doing. With those many remarks, Madam Speaker, like I have said to my colleagues from the 11 counties, persuade us better. But on count of rewarding good behavior by our counties, the place to pinch from is on the poverty index. I appreciate, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Kajwang, and for the senators who will be speaking, remember we are discussing the amendment motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I spoke to the main motion, and I'm glad to speak to the amended motion. Madam Speaker, let me start with the good news. The good news, and Kenyans and the residents of the 11 counties should know, that the 11 senators coming from these 11 counties have so far convinced the Finance Committee and this House to ring-fence 2 billion Kenya shillings towards their counties, to be shared equally. And Senator Osotsi, you must tell the people of Vihiga that the first 2 billion shillings that was ring-fenced was as a result of your lobbying. Senator Mwaruma, you must tell the people of Taita Taveta that you got them 2 billion shillings more to be shared out equally amongst the 11 counties. On that, I must congratulate the 11, because what brought them together were not geographical features or political commonalities, but the desire for their people to get more resources. To that extent, I want to congratulate the 11, led by Senator Omogeni, for bringing so far at least 200, close to 200 million Kenya shillings to Nyamira, because the original 2 billion that was ring-fenced in the original report by the committee, if it shared out equally, would translate to almost 200 million Kenya shillings. 181, which is not small money, Madam Speaker. 181 is capable of building probably 90 ECD classrooms. And if you make them ECD centers, you can have as many as 50 ECD centers. That is not small money. And the voters, the people in these 11 counties must know that their senators are here, they are robustly working hard to ensure that they get more resources. Madam Speaker, there's a little bit of a problem in the proposed amendment. Remember, Bob Marley said, give them a yard, they take a mile. We have given them 2 billion. They want 4.46 billion. We've given them a yard, let them not take a mile. But, Madam Speaker, this conversation would have been fit, proper, and very appropriate if we knew how much money was available for distribution. Right now, we are speculating. We said 460-something billion. The National Assembly said 405 billion. The political class says 450 billion. Madam Speaker, last night, governors were in State House, all of them, including those who failed to appear before committees. Some of them said they were sick, and we saw them at State House. We shall deal with them. We shall find them. We shall use images of State House to put them in their place. But what State House? They discussed a lot of things. But when you get information, the president was telling them about the limited fiscal space. The president was doing a soft launch on 405 billion. Madam Speaker, we'll be here fighting as a Senate for 450 billion, but our principal customers, who are the governors, have already been softened to accept 405 billion. Madam Speaker, this is a house where no one can take me to court for what I say here. The argument is as follows. You see, we in the broad-based wing of ODM are saying 450 billion, nothing less. And so the calculation is simple. 405 billion in DORA, and then increase conditional grants to 45 billion. You have 450 billion. My deputy party leader will not reject that one. Because we said 450 billion to counties, it can go as equitable share, it can go as conditional grants. Ladies and gentlemen, this debate, if this formula does not sit on the critical path of DORA, I want to encourage the leadership and the gallant 11 and the finance committee. Let us shelve this debate. We see how much money we have. And then we have these clever arguments when we know what is on the table. Madam Speaker, if we have 405 billion on the table, then 4.46 billion is taking a mile from a yard. If we had 450 billion, then we don't even need to ring fence, because automatically all of us are going to benefit. It would be like a rising tide that lifts all boats. Everyone is going to get more than 6 billion Kenya shillings. Madam Speaker, I believe this is a premature debate, and if we are going to commit ourselves today, then even us from the other 36 counties will be asked why we were not as gluttonous as Senator Mwaruma, why we didn't fight for our counties to get more. But for our counties to get more, it means other counties are getting less. And that is not the concept of equity that this House is out to advance. Madam Speaker, now that the debate is with us, and I've said it would have been neater to first conclude DORA, but allow me to say the following. The money that goes to counties is not just the equitable share that we appropriate or we approve through DORA. We also have the additional allocations that we send to counties. And Madam Speaker, what we must fight for as a House is realization of the constitutional rights and entitlements of local communities and counties, for example, Kwale and Taita Taveta. Mineral royalties. Kwale was supposed to get close to 1.7 billion, or maybe 1.2 billion Kenya shillings from mineral royalties. Every Kenyan knows that base titanium has been digging titanium from Kwale and sending to China or to other markets or to Australia, wherever it is. Kwale has never received a cent out of mineral royalties. Taita Taveta, Madam Speaker, has a lot of critical minerals in the soil. We should be pushing for realization of that revenue rather than fighting over whether to ring-fence 2 billion or 4 billion. Madam Speaker, we should also be looking at on-source revenue. One of my best counties in terms of fiscal responsibility is a county represented by Senator Kinyua. And Madam Speaker, out of Laikipia, we have seen some good success stories. I hope it will be sustainable. And I hope when Governor Kinyua takes over, he will sustain the momentum that past governors have put in place. Laikipia has an on-source revenue of 1 billion Kenya shillings. 1 billion Kenya shillings. And they're calling themselves a small county. Why are you calling yourself a small county if you can generate 1 billion Kenya shillings in on-source revenue a year? The same as Homa Bay, the mighty Homa Bay. Madam Speaker, so why would we say that we need these counties to get 6 billion when Laikipia is already having 6 billion? One of the most creative proposals that came to this House was a proposal for an infrastructure bond that was brought by Laikipia. They had figured out the projects they wanted to do, they knew how much it was going to cost, and they knew how they were going to finance it, because they had on-source revenue of about 1 billion. So they could focus in the future that given 4 or 5 years, they could go to the markets and borrow 5 billion or 10 billion Kenya shillings, and they knew how they were going to repay it. Those are the avenues we should be encouraging these counties to pursue. Madam Speaker, I feel very pained on behalf of Senator Omogeni. Already he has convinced us to ring-fence 2 billion. Already. 187 million is going to Nyamira. Whether they have 2 assemblies or 3 assemblies. Already he has convinced us. Whether the governor has a degree or not. Already he has convinced us. Whether the governor is doing a good job or not already has convinced us. But Senator Mogeni, I would be very hesitant to give you a further 200 million shillings for it to be spent by two assemblies, some sitting under a tree and another one sitting in somebody's residence. Madam Speaker, I will not accept.
Senator ML, what's your point of order?
Nyamira is my neighboring county, just same as Homa Bay. We share a border. Therefore, allow me to speak on their behalf when their senator is faced with a difficult situation of retorting back to Senator Kajwang and therefore push him further away from his amendment and defending the rights of the people of Nyamira. Is it in order, Madam Speaker, for my good friend Senator Kajwang to disparage actually the entire people of Nyamira based on their conduct of some of their leaders? We have been in this house, Madam Speaker, when there have been bad habits, including from Homa Bay County. They used to have a governor who, when it came for time to appear before PAC, Madam Speaker, he will put on some specs and says he's not seeing the figures well, Madam Speaker. That never, even with that, Madam Speaker, we never denied Homa Bay funds, Madam Speaker. So I want to plead with Senator Kajwang that he can pursue his point without having to disparage an entire county, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Senator Kajwang, do you want to retreat a little on the comments you have made?
Madam Speaker, that motion was before the House just 3 weeks ago. And it was brought by the devolution committee and a committee of the House. And Senator Mogeni again moved an amendment to that motion. But Madam Speaker, I think the point is that they are bad habits. And I agree with the majority leader.
Senator Kajwang, what you're explaining to ML is that Senator Kajwang did not speak about the entire people of Nyamira. Correct. He spoke about 2 assemblies, and that is factual.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Because the interest of counties and their government is sometimes different from the interest of their governors or the interest of their leaders. And our job as a Senate is to defend the interests of counties and their governments rather than the interests of their governors. Madam Speaker, the fiscal responsibility measure, I would be happy to approve this amendment if I was convinced that there was a way we were going to reward good behavior and we are going to punish errant behavior. If we don't have that option in this formula, I would be very hesitant to give much more money to some of the counties here. Isiolo is on the schedule of the 11 counties. Madam Speaker, Isiolo, I said in the substantive debate, is not a small county. Isiolo is designated as a capital and the center of gravity of Kenya. So you can be a big county, but with a small leadership mindset at the top. And that's what makes you look like a small county. And Madam Speaker, I would be very hesitant that if a county like Laikipia, which I've described to be very fiscally responsible, was to get 400 million more out of this formula, that even the irresponsible ones will be getting the same amount, unless we had a formula for differentiation. Madam Speaker, we must increase the pie, because if it's 405 billion, then we will be confirming to those who think that the Senate is also playing small. We have the opportunity, we have the